What's good, people? Ben from Lover of Tech.
Darius Tech here.
And we are here together. We're going to do a special three-way collaboration camera comparison. Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra,
and iPhone 15 Pro Max.
And look, he saved me because he's brought his Xiaomi 14 Ultra, so definitely go subscribe and follow him. We're going to test everything, daylight, low light, photos, rear camera, and go through all of it. Boom.
Coming up.
You asked for it. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra is here thanks to my guy Darius from Darius Tech.
My pleasure.
So be sure to go and follow, subscribe to him. His channel will be linked in the description below because honestly, I was not going to be able to do this test and anything on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra until maybe all the way in June. So he came in through clutch with this definitive camera comparison between the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, exactly the best way to watch this camera comparison is on the largest display possible at the highest resolution and frame rate at 4K 60 with headphones on so you can hear the audio switching when we're in video. There will be chapters linked in the description below, but definitely sit back, relax, get your popcorn, get your milk, get your drink. It will be worth it in this camera comparison.
Let's go.
We are now recording in a 4K UHD 60 frames per second video recorder mode on a selfie front-facing camera on a Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we're just seeing how the image quality is like, sharpness, detail, dynamic range, stabilization. Of course, your favorite, a quick run.
Okay guys, 4K, 30 FPS. This is stabilization. What do you think? Dynamic range. Let me do a little run up so you can see which one is actually the most stable here. Not bad at all.
We're now recording in a 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode on a selfie camera on a Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And we're just seeing how the image quality is like when it comes to sharpness, detail, colors, dynamic range, and of course, video stabilization with a quick run. We're still recording on a front-facing camera in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The difference is we're in their respective video portrait mode cinematic blur with the video blur effects in the background. And this is only available on a selfie camera on the Galaxy S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And the option is to actually shoot this in 4K 30. Now, let's look at this and see. In this particular situation, here's some of the benefits that you have when doing this. With the Samsung, while you're recording, you can go through the different blur effects. You can remove the blur altogether and make it look like a normal video. You can go all the way to the maximum, which is 7, or down back to the default, which is 5. Pause recording and continue on the same clip. You can't take pictures though. And on the iPhone, you can't do any editing while you're recording. You can change it before, and you can do the edit changes after the fact because it captures all the metadata, which is really great to see, and change the blur point and intensity. Okay, we're in the rear cameras now, 4K 30, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, and then we've got the S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. How is it going to be looking between both of us being here? What do you think, Darius?
What I would love to see, the color accuracy, for me, it's probably one of the most important factors when I do my camera comparisons.
Definitely. And look, both of us, different shades in the same camera frame. I don't know how it's going to be, but we're giving these cameras a lot more work to do. Okay, we're in the rear cameras now, 4K 30, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, and then we've got the S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. How is it going to be looking between both of us being here? What do you think, Darius?
What I would love to see, the color accuracy, for me, it's probably one of the most important factors when I do my camera comparisons.
Definitely. And look, both of us, different shades in the same camera frame. I don't know how it's going to be, but we're giving these cameras a lot more work to do. Okay, we're in the rear cameras now, 4K 30, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, and then we've got the S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. How is it going to be looking between both of us being here? What do you think, Darius?
What I would love to see, the color accuracy, for me, it's probably one of the most important factors when I do my camera comparisons.
Definitely. And look, both of us, different shades in the same camera frame. I don't know how it's going to be, but we're giving these cameras a lot more work to do. Okay, we're in the rear cameras now, 4K 30, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, and then we've got the S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. How is it going to be looking between both of us being here? What do you think, Darius?
what I would love to see, the color accuracy. For me, it's probably one of the most important factors when I do my camera comparisons.
Definitely. And look, both of us, different shades in the same camera frame. I don't know how it's going to be, but we're giving these cameras a lot more work to do. So, still 4K 30, we've now switched to the ultra wide for the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's see how the image quality is like in ultra wide. What's your expectations?
I would love to see a good dynamic range. We know the Chinese phones are sometimes struggling with that.
They do.
But also about the color accuracy again.
Yeah. We've got the ultra wide field of view. Let's see which one is nice and wide, and also all the things that Darius just mentioned. So, still 4K 30, we've now switched to the ultra wide for the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's see how the image quality is like in ultra wide. What's your expectations?
I would love to see a good dynamic range. We know the Chinese phones are sometimes struggling with that.
They do.
But also about the color accuracy again.
Yeah. We've got the ultra wide field of view. Let's see which one is nice and wide, and also all the things that Darius just mentioned. So, still 4K 30, we've now switched to the ultra wide for the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's see how the image quality is like in ultra wide. What's your expectations?
I would love to see a good dynamic range. We know the Chinese phones are sometimes struggling with that.
They do.
But also about the color accuracy again.
Yeah. We've got the ultra wide field of view. Let's see which one is nice and wide, and also all the things that Darius just mentioned. So, still 4K 30, we've now switched to the ultra wide for the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's see how the image quality is like in ultra wide. What's your expectations?
I would love to see a good dynamic range. We know the Chinese phones are sometimes struggling with that.
They do.
But also about the color accuracy again.
Yeah. We've got the ultra wide field of view. Let's see which one is nice and wide, and also all the things that Darius just mentioned. So we're still in 4K 30 FPS with the rear cameras, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. We've now done the 2x zoom mode. This is doing a 2x zoom on the main wide sensor. Let's see how the image quality is like. What do you think is going to really hold up well?
Right, I'm looking forward for the telephoto lens. You know, the times 2 is just to crop in, okay? So I'm not expecting some amazing results. I'm waiting for telephoto lens. We've got advantage because Xiaomi has 2 telephoto lenses. Actually, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra also has additional telephoto lens. Sadly, iPhone isn't iPhone.
Well, we're going to see how the mid-range zooms and extended zooms are going to be after the 2x. So we're still in 4K 30 FPS with the rear cameras, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. We've now done the 2x zoom mode. This is doing a 2x zoom on the main wide sensor. Let's see how the image quality is like. What do you think is going to really hold up well?
Right, I'm looking forward for the telephoto lens. You know, the times 2 is just to crop in, okay? So I'm not expecting some amazing results. I'm waiting for telephoto lens. We've got advantage because Xiaomi has 2 telephoto lenses. Actually, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra also has additional telephoto lens. Sadly, iPhone isn't iPhone.
Well, we're going to see how the mid-range zooms and extended zooms are going to be after the 2x. So we're still in 4K 30 FPS with the rear cameras, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. We've now done the 2x zoom mode. This is doing a 2x zoom on the main wide sensor. Let's see how the image quality is like. What do you think is going to really hold up well?
Right, I'm looking forward for the telephoto lens. You know, the times 2 is just to crop in, okay? So I'm not expecting some amazing results. I'm waiting for telephoto lens. We've got advantage because Xiaomi has 2 telephoto lenses. Actually, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra also has additional telephoto lens. Sadly, iPhone isn't iPhone.
Well, we're going to see how the mid-range zooms and extended zooms are going to be after the 2x. So we're still in 4K 30 FPS with the rear cameras, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. We've now done the 2x zoom mode. This is doing a 2x zoom on the main wide sensor. Let's see how the image quality is like. What do you think is going to really hold up well?
Right, I'm looking forward for the telephoto lens. You know, the times 2 is just to crop in, okay? So I'm not expecting some amazing results. I'm waiting for telephoto lens. We've got advantage because Xiaomi has 2 telephoto lenses. Actually, Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra also has additional telephoto lens. Sadly, iPhone isn't iPhone.
Well, we're going to see how the mid-range zooms and extended zooms are going to be after the 2x. So we're still in a 4K UHD flex into second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now what we've done is we've gone into their mid-range zooms, so that's 3.2x on the Xiaomi, 3x on the Samsung, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't have a mid-range zoom. It's a digital crop at 3x before we get to the 5x. Now what's your expectations at this point?
You know what, for me, audio quality is also very important. So now when I review Xiaomi 14 Ultra, I was a bit disappointed with the sound quality. So I am wondering, how does it compare with Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and iPhone 15 Pro Max?
All right, that's going to be an interesting one because of distance. Let's hear how the audio quality will be like. So we're still in a 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now what we've done is we've gone into their mid-range zooms, so that's 3.2x on the Xiaomi, 3x on the Samsung, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't have a mid-range zoom. It's a digital crop at 3x before we get to the 5x. Now what's your expectations at this point?
You know what, for me, audio quality is also very important. So now when I review Xiaomi 14 Ultra, I was a bit disappointed with the sound quality. So I am wondering, how does it compare with Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and iPhone 15 Pro Max?
All right, that's going to be an interesting one because of distance. Let's hear how the audio quality will be like. So we're still in a 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now what we've done is we've gone into their mid-range zooms, so that's 3.2x on the Xiaomi, 3x on the Samsung, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't have a mid-range zoom. It's a digital crop at 3x before we get to the 5x. Now what's your expectations at this point?
You know what, for me, audio quality is also very important. So now when I review Xiaomi 14 Ultra, I was a bit disappointed with the sound quality. So I am wondering, how does it compare with Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and iPhone 15 Pro Max?
All right, that's going to be an interesting one because of distance. Let's hear how the audio quality will be like. So we're still in a 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now what we've done is we've gone into their mid-range zooms, so that's 3.2x on the Xiaomi, 3x on the Samsung, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't have a mid-range zoom. It's a digital crop at 3x before we get to the 5x. Now what's your expectations at this point?
You know what, for me, audio quality is also very important. So now when I review Xiaomi 14 Ultra, I was a bit disappointed with the sound quality. So I am wondering, how does it compare with Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and iPhone 15 Pro Max?
All right, that's going to be an interesting one because of distance. Let's hear how the audio quality will be like. We are still in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. The good thing is they're all in their optical mode at their maximum 5x. You can really see what the image quality is like at this optical level. But again, Darren, what's your expectation at this point? This is your favorite?
Right, my favorite. I am a huge fan of optical zooms, and for me, ×5 is just a beautiful spot. Okay, that is just amazing for portrait photography. You know, for making videos just like this one. So I'm really looking forward to see the results.
We are still in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. The good thing is they're all in their optical mode at their maximum 5x. You can really see what the image quality is like at this optical level. But again, Darren, what's your expectation at this point? This is your favorite?
Right, my favorite. I am a huge fan of optical zooms, and for me, ×5 is just a beautiful spot. Okay, that is just amazing for portrait photography. You know, for making videos just like this one. So I'm really looking forward to see the results.
We are still in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. The good thing is they're all in their optical mode at their maximum 5x. You can really see what the image quality is like at this optical level. But again, Darren, what's your expectation at this point? This is your favorite?
Right, my favorite. I am a huge fan of optical zooms, and for me, ×5 is just a beautiful spot. Okay, that is just amazing for portrait photography. You know, for making videos just like this one. So I'm really looking forward to see the results.
We are still in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max. The good thing is they're all in their optical mode at their maximum 5x. You can really see what the image quality is like at this optical level. But again, Darius, what's your expectation at this point? This is your favorite.
Right, my favorite. I am a huge fan of optical zooms, and for me, x5 is just a beautiful spot. Okay, that is just amazing for portrait photography. You know, for making videos just like this one. So I'm really looking forward to see the results.
Definitely. We're now switching and using the 8K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max is limited to just 4K at the maximum resolution. And the best thing here that we're seeing is the Xiaomi has great flexibility in this mode. Tell them, Darius.
It's crazy because you've got all the lenses available in 8K. What's also even more impressive, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra can switch between the lenses during recording, and this option was not available on 14 Pro or 13 Ultra on any other Xiaomi devices. So I'm really excited finally to see this option here available.
And Darius is like me, he values usability. When you're recording video, you want to be continuous, and I have to give props to Xiaomi on this. Being able to record on these high resolution sensors, on the zoom, the ultra wide up, very impressive. 8K 30.
Yeah.
We're now switching and using the 8K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max is limited to just 4K at the maximum resolution. And the best thing here that we're seeing is the Xiaomi has great flexibility in this mode. Tell them, Darius.
It's crazy because you've got all the lenses available in 8K. What's also even more impressive, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra can switch between the lenses during recording, and this option was not available on 14 Pro or 13 Ultra on any other Xiaomi devices. So I'm really excited finally to see this option here available.
And Darius is like me, he values usability. When you're recording video, you want to be continuous, and I have to give props to Xiaomi on this. Being able to record on these high resolution sensors, on the zoom, the ultra wide up, very impressive. 8K 30.
Yeah.
We're now switching and using the 8K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max is limited to just 4K at the maximum resolution. And the best thing here that we're seeing is the Xiaomi has great flexibility in this mode. Tell them, Darius.
It's crazy because you've got all the lenses available in 8K. What's also even more impressive, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra can switch between the lenses during recording, and this option was not available on 14 Pro or 13 Ultra on any other Xiaomi devices. So I'm really excited finally to see this option here available.
And Darius is like me, he values usability. When you're recording video, you want to be continuous, and I have to give props to Xiaomi on this. Being able to record on these high resolution sensors, on the zoom, the ultra wide up, very impressive. 8K 30.
Yeah.
We're now switching and using the 8K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max is limited to just 4K at the maximum resolution. And the best thing here that we're seeing is the Xiaomi has great flexibility in this mode. Tell them, Darius.
It's crazy because you've got all the lenses available in 8K. What's also even more impressive, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra can switch between the lenses during recording, and this option was not available on 14 Pro or 13 Ultra on any other Xiaomi devices. So I'm really excited finally to see this option here available.
And Darius is like me, he values usability. When you're recording video, you want to be continuous, and I have to give props to Xiaomi on this. Being able to record on these high resolution sensors, on the zoom, the ultra wide up, very impressive. 8K 30.
Yeah.
So we're now in their respective video portrait mode with the rear camera. The Xiaomi does say that to be the movie, and we've left them in their default modes. Now, usually this mode is tough on just one person. We've got both of us in the frame. So let's see how they handle. How do you think they're going to be pulling off when it comes to this one, Darius?
Now, I like to have flexibility, and there's loads of people like myself using smartphone to create the footage. So, you know, bringing that next footage to the next level is very important. So I am really looking forward to see that. You've got a log mode available on Xiaomi, and you also, as you mentioned,
with
before,
the ProRes on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really good.
it.
And it shows this is like the powerhouse feature of simulating a mirrorless camera and DSLR. So it's really good to see these modes in here.
Absolutely.
So we're now in their respective video portrait mode with the rear camera. The Xiaomi does say that to be the movie, and we've left them in their default modes. Now, usually this mode is tough on just one person. We've got both of us in the frame. So let's see how they handle. How do you think they're going to be pulling off when it comes to this one, Darius?
Now, I like to have flexibility, and there's loads of people like myself using smartphone to create the footage. So, bringing that next footage to the next level is very important. So I am really looking forward to see that. You've got log mode available on Xiaomi, and you also, as you mentioned,
with
before,
the ProRes on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really
love
good.
it.
And it shows this is like the powerhouse feature of simulating a mirrorless camera and DSLR. So it's really good to see these modes in here.
Absolutely.
So we're now in their respective video portrait mode with the rear camera. The Xiaomi does say that to be the movie, and we've left them in their default modes. Now, usually this mode is tough on just one person. We've got both of us in the frame. So let's see how they handle. How do you think they're going to be pulling off when it comes to this one, Darius?
Now, I like to have flexibility, and there's loads of people like myself using smartphone to create the footage. So, bringing that next footage to the next level is very important. So I am really looking forward to see that. You've got log mode available on Xiaomi, and you also, as you mentioned,
with the ProRes on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really good.
It.
And it shows this is like the powerhouse feature of simulating a mirrorless camera and DSLR. So it's really good to see these modes in here.
Absolutely.
So we're now in their respective video portrait mode with the rear camera. The Xiaomi does say that to be the movie, and we've left them in their default modes. Now, usually this mode is tough on just one person. We've got both of us in the frame. So let's see how they handle. How do you think they're going to be pulling off when it comes to this one, Darius?
Now, I like to have flexibility, and there's loads of people like myself using smartphone to create the footage. So, bringing that next footage to the next level is very important. So I am really looking forward to see that. You've got log mode available on Xiaomi, and you also, as you mentioned,
with the ProRes on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really good.
It.
And it shows this is like the powerhouse feature of simulating a mirrorless camera and DSLR. So it's really good to see these modes in here.
Absolutely.
So now the audience have had time to go through all the video samples that we've got. We're now going to be going through the pictures with me and you in a frame as the subjects. We're giving these cameras a lot more work than they usually would do. And it should be fun. Are you ready for it, Darius?
I cannot wait. Seeing this on a bigger picture makes a massive difference.
Big difference, right? Massive difference. So yeah, we've got the big 48-inch 4K 120Hz OLED C1 from LG. Something I've invested in that I'm really, really proud of. And in this particular situation, hey guys, it's both of us commentating. We're going to be trying to be as quick fire as possible, but we do recommend definitely pause it so you can have time to really watch it for yourself. We're just going to try and give it a nice commentary, have some fun with it, give our perspective, and really get through it. So it's not as long as it needs to be, but if it is long, hey guys, enjoy it, man. This is a special collaboration between us.
Absolutely. Hopefully not the first one, not the last one.
Dude, honestly, man, go subscribe to Darius Tech. He came through clutch with the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, so really appreciate it. You asked, we've got it, and let's get into it. Let's start with the ultra wide. So ultra wide with us in a frame as the subject. Again, when I'm looking at this, first of all, I have to say, I'll probably lean more towards the balance and exposure of the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then go to the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and then the Xiaomi. The Xiaomi is a little bit more underexposed than I would like, but I think the sky looks a bit more realistic to the day. I don't know, what's your thoughts?
To be honest, like when I look at the iPhone, there's too much sharpening going on.
Oh,
like look at your face, like there's so much details. I think there's a little bit too much details. Yeah, like there's too much contrast in my opinion in Xiaomi. I prefer Samsung here.
Oh, you know, you might have to claw me back on that because it does look like there's a bit more natural detail on the Samsung. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna change my mind, and I think I agree with your perspective from that point of view. So, actually, you know what? Let's flip reverse it. Samsung, iPhone, and Xiaomi.
Yeah.
Cool. Let us know if you actually agree with that order. so we've now gone to the main wide sensor 1x mode, and I think things are still a bit consistent across the board. I would say that in terms of the natural look of the image, you know, Samsung is doing pretty well. But you see, when I look closer, in my opinion, I think the iPhone is doing better on you, and Samsung is doing better on me. And in my opinion, the Xiaomi, again, is still a little bit more overexposed than I would prefer. Even though the sky is much more accurate, I feel like it's favoring the look of the sky and it's affecting the overall image. I don't know, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, when you look at the, see, for me, when I look at the colors, look at the jackets, okay? My green isn't as accurate on none of these. The closest one is actually the Samsung, in my opinion.
Okay, fair.
But again, like, I don't like the details on my face on Samsung. I prefer it on the iPhone.
Yeah, I think the iPhone is doing better on you. And to be fair, we've both given, between our different skin colors and complexion, the different colors that we've thrown in from our jackets, our hoodies, we are really giving them work to do. So in fact, it's gonna pick and choose where we are. I think I'm gonna agree with you. iPhone looks better on you, but in terms of the color of the clothes and the exposure and the accuracy, yeah, Samsung.
Yeah.
Okay, we're now doing a 2x digital crop, and I know you're a big fan of telephoto, so this is the stopgap before we start getting to the mid-range and extended zoom ranges. So it's doing a crop on a main wide sensor. And for me, I think in general, the image processing on the iPhone overall is just the best between all of them, in my opinion. I think the iPhone nails it really well, then Samsung. Samsung's image becomes a little bit softer than I was expecting it to. The exposure is good, but detail is definitely on, you know, iPhone side. Detail's good on the Xiaomi. In fact, I think the detail's slightly better on the Xiaomi compared to the Samsung. I just don't like the colors and the exposure.
I have to say, I'm gonna say exactly the same thing. Exactly the same.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one. I feel like Xiaomi's honestly focusing on the sky accuracy and exposure way more than it should, and it's actually affecting the overall image because the detail is there. I just would like better colors and exposure. So again, 2x, we'll give it to the iPhone. Then we'll come to the Samsung for exposure, and then, you know, Xiaomi, but we'll give Xiaomi a point for good detail.
Yeah.
Okay, we're now getting into the extended zoom range. First is the mid-range point, 3.2x on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, 3x on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. But bearing in mind, the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't have a mid-range zoom. The next zoom range is 5x, so there's gonna be a lot more work it's got to do, and you can just tell how much softer the image is on the iPhone compared to what you're seeing on the Xiaomi and also the Samsung. I think Samsung does an overall better job just because the exposure and the colors is better, but because of obviously the high resolution sensor that is binning down, the Xiaomi at 3.2x has great details, just the colors and exposure, that is still a bit off and a bit much for me. I don't know.
Definitely iPhone is struggling here.
Yeah,
I really don't like that picture at all.
Too soft.
Yeah, it's gonna be between the Samsung and Xiaomi, but again, because of those colors, you know, because it's just not accurate. I like, you know, the details, but look at your skin tones.
Yeah, it's just not there.
Yeah.
So I just hope in the future Samsung moves away from this 10 megapixel 3x sensor. They go up to 50 megapixels like they have. But in general, because of the colors and exposure being better, I'm going with Samsung in this particular round. Then we'll come to Xiaomi, and then we'll come to the iPhone 15. But again, we're gonna deduct points from the Xiaomi because we would want better exposure and colors.
Yeah, correct.
Alright, so we're now in the 5x zoom mode. The iPhone is back in the game. It's optical on all of them. Now we are on level playing fields, and this one is a tough one, I can't lie. But I'll be honest with you, in terms of nailing it between us, I have to go with the iPhone first. I'm going with the iPhone, then I'm going with the Xiaomi, and then Samsung. I feel like at this maximum extended zoom range, the exposure is better controlled finally on Xiaomi. I don't think it's perfect, but it's better controlled. and it just has the details, the detail that wins for me. So I'm going in that order: iPhone, Xiaomi, and Samsung. What about you?
Okay, me is slightly different. I'm gonna give it to Xiaomi this time because look at my skin.
Yeah.
Like iPhone, this is orange. Like, this is not accurate at all.
No, it's not. It's not.
However, when I'm looking at Samsung, I don't like the details. Like
No.
maybe it's a bit more too over sharpening going on Xiaomi, but I like that feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna give to Xiaomi this time, then Samsung, then
Fair.
Apple.
Like, would you go for a different order? Let us know in the comment section below. Okay, we're now running it back. We are in portrait mode. So 23mm on the equivalent for the Xiaomi first, the other two on their 1X. And yeah, out of the gate, we're really gonna focus on how is the edge detection, how is the blur quality, and how is the blur accuracy. Blur accuracy is, does it miss any blur spots in between our gaps or whatever, our glasses, the hat?
Yeah.
Is the blur quality, how realistic does it look? Is it very artificial? And also, you know, the blur quality, you know, is something that we have to look at in terms of the naturality. And I have to say, to be honest, for me, the iPhone does a really good job next to Xiaomi when it comes to edge detection. I would say the iPhone has a much better natural looking blur. The Samsung missed a gap in my left arm. If you look around there, it's missed a little bit, so it's had a bit more of a challenge between us. That's the order I'm gonna go for. What's your analysis on this portrait mode?
You see, I prefer Samsung here.
Ooh.
I don't really like Xiaomi. Again, my hat is like off color completely.
True.
You know, as
have a
much
point.
as the iPhone doing a pretty good job, I don't know. They're pretty close here.
They're close. They're really, you can't go wrong. And remember, people, for perspective, right? We are giving these cameras way more work.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
two of us, right? We're posed differently. We've got different materials on. So take that into consideration. You can't really go wrong with all, but I think if we're being a bit strict on them, I'm being a bit harsher just because the Samsung did miss the slight gap in between my arms,
Fair enough.
right? So I'm more upping it in that level.
No,
right?
fair enough. But from the, like, if I looked at it, I would mark it one,
Okay.
both,
Yeah.
and then just second for
Yeah.
the Xiaomi.
Yeah, fair. That's absolutely fair. All right, we've now gone into the 2X mode. This will be the 35mm equivalent on the Xiaomi Ultra, as it does measure it in the equivalents of 23, 35, 50, and 75. So we're going through those modes. That's how you're gonna see on your Xiaomi 14 Ultra if you're doing portrait mode. Now, 2X, again, yeah, around your ears, your glasses and hat, Samsung does struggle on me because, again, I don't have much happening around my head shape. You know, it seemed easy, but for you, Samsung struggled and is really having a challenge. I would say in some ways, Xiaomi's actually done the best out of all of them in terms of the edge detection and blur. It loses out in terms of the exposures and colors, just like what we mentioned before, but the edge detection on there is really good. Then I would actually say Xiaomi, Apple with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then Samsung. What do you think?
I'm gonna agree on that. Look at my left ear on iPhone.
Yeah.
It looks like half earrings or something. Like there's the edge like between is just not good enough.
Yeah. And as always, you know, you're gonna see it in full screen to see what we're talking about because we're cramped a little bit in terms of this framing. But you're right. You're absolutely right. I agree.
And it's amazing because you know, when I look at my comparison, I never see my pictures on such a big screen.
Yeah.
That's why we're really challenging those devices here.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. Okay, we've now gone into the further extended portrait mode. We are now 50mm on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, 3X on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. And remember, the iPhone 15 Pro Max doesn't have a mid-range zoom, so we've gone straight to 5X. But I've said it as a disclaimer before, if you ever take a normal 3X or 4X picture on an iPhone, if it captures enough depth information in the photo editor, you can just change it to a portrait image, just as a heads up. But for now, we're just doing the portrait mode out of the gate that it supports. And I have to say, right, the iPhone in 5X portrait mode is just, So beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw it, I thought, wow, that
So
looks
beautiful.
so good.
Yeah, you need a lot more space, but man, if you can nail it at 5x, and it's going to be apparent for the other ones, but I think iPhone really mastered this well out of the gate for the first time that they're doing it. Again, if we're just framing it just for me in this particular situation before the next picture, which is just framed for you, Xiaomi struggles, in my opinion, in terms of the look of it around my head. It kind of has made my head a bit more of an egg shape than it should be.
Yeah.
Whereas the Samsung, I think, is just absolutely spot on. It's done really well at the 3x point. A bit of fuzzing on the edges, but I'll rather pick that as the picture than the egg shape that the Xiaomi is making me look like, in my opinion. What do you think?
I'm gonna agree on that. Yeah, iPhone first, Samsung second, Xiaomi last.
Yeah. Okay, we're still in the same framing, but we've now just framed it for you so we can see how these cameras perform with you in there. So give me a breakdown. When you look at it, what are you analyzing from this when it's looking at you at 3x, 50mm and the 5x on my iPhone?
Now, this is an interesting one because
It
I
is,
think
right?
Xiaomi does way better on me than it did on you.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
However, you know, look at the shadows. It's bringing me more details, but
Yep.
it's slightly overexposing in my opinion.
Yeah.
You see, I quite like Samsung here.
Yep.
I'm gonna give it a Samsung first, then iPhone.
Yeah, I don't disagree because I think the 3x is a sweet spot. It might have done a little bit better, but in terms of like what you're saying, the balance of exposure messed with the, you know, the edge detection and blur. Yeah, Samsung is looking good on you, dude.
Yeah, when I look at my hat, it's just a completely wrong color.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, it's looking good on you, man. Okay, 5x portrait mode, 75mm portrait mode on the Xiaomi. We are on level playing field with all of them. I'm still sticking to my guns, man. I just feel like the 5x portrait on iPhone is it just looks like cinema, right? It has that look to it. I really lean towards it. Samsung has done better, but I feel like there's an element of over sharpening happening on you more than I prefer. And Xiaomi does well. It does do well. In fact, I feel like the edge detection on both of us around our head is really good on the Xiaomi. So I will give it points for that. But man, I like the iPhone.
Oh, interesting. You see, I'm leaning towards the Xiaomi here.
And I'm with you. I think the Xiaomi is looking good.
I think this is the most natural look here.
Oh, yeah.
And then look at the details. Look at that. Like your face is just so sharp, but there's no over sharpening going on here, in my opinion.
No, definitely not.
It's just that, I don't know. I feel that DSLR look like it's just a beautiful portrait, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm with you. I think it's more the stylistic look of the iPhone that draws me. But
yeah,
guys, let us know in the comments. It's a tough one when we get to the 5x for portrait mode, right? Split the decision for us. We're going to show you them individually. Let us know which one you like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts, guys.
Okay, the last set of rear images with the rear camera with us in the frame as the subject. High resolution mode. Now, just bear in mind, in the high resolution mode, I think Xiaomi will give you the best options because all of the rear cameras from ultra wide to 1x, 3.2x, and 5x are 50 megapixels, whereas the others are mixed up, right? Samsung has 12 megapixel ultra wide, main camera has two modes at 5200, the mid range is 10 megapixels, and the super resolution at 5x, is 50 megapixels, whereas the iPhone has 48 megapixels on the main, and then ultra wide is 12, zoom is 12. So I think consistency, Xiaomi's going to give you the better options, but I just want to put a disclaimer before we continue. In this mode, you need not just daylight, but you need the sun to actually be out to really help it. In these modes, dynamic range takes a hit, the pixels become smaller because it's not binning. Bear that in mind if you choose to use this mode. With that being said, ultra wide, what's your thoughts when we're looking at it from the Xiaomi to the others?
You see, this is going to be a tricky one.
Yeah, it is.
Because as you said, I do agree, like Xiaomi got that flexibility, and that's pretty impressive to have 50 megapixel across all the lenses. But again, because of the color is just way off.
Yeah.
I would say, to be honest, I like both on pair, Samsung and iPhone, and then the second place.
I agree. I think it's just a best case scenario of us living in the UK. Daylight doesn't mean it's ideal, right? We need the sun to be out, and I think it suffers from it. So if you're in this situation, people, don't use high res, just use the standard ultra wide, and you should have better results. Right, we've gone to the main wide sensor. First mode for the Samsung is 50 megapixels, 50 megapixels for the Xiaomi, and 48 megapixels for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And I think this clawed it back really good across all of them. It's a hard pick. Some reason I feel like the exposure control is much better on the Xiaomi in this situation on a high resolution main wide sensor compared to the non-high resolution. You know, I think it performs better in this situation, weirdly enough. I would say that I kind of like the look of the Samsung the most out of all of them. I feel like the iPhone makes me a bit too dark, but I think the iPhone does a better job on you, and then Samsung does a better job on me. So yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. We noticed that before. So it's great to see two different color scheme, because like I don't like Xiaomi on me. I'm literally orange there.
Yeah, and I'm more red on my skin tone on the Xiaomi as well, if I'm going to be honest with you.
In terms of color accuracy, Xiaomi is definitely not accurate there. I'm going to say iPhone is doing the best in my opinion. Look at the shadows on Samsung. It's just
I'll take the iPhone for you. I think the iPhone makes me darker than I am, and then I'll take the Samsung for me. It's split. I think it's split in this high resolution mode. Right, we're now in the second high resolution mode on the Samsung, 200 megapixels versus 50 megapixels on the Xiaomi, 48 on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And I think now it's just too much work for the Samsung. I think it falls back a bit. Yes, you know, it's the iPhone does make my skin darker than usual, but in this situation, I'm gonna stick with the iPhone altogether. I think the 200 megapixel mode needs more daylight in terms of the sun, and it doesn't have it here. It struggles more. So I think iPhone, I don't know if I still want to pick the Xiaomi. I think I'm still gonna go iPhone in this situation, Samsung and then Xiaomi.
Okay, definitely iPhone's winning here, that's no doubt. I don't like the Samsung here at all. Like, look at your face, like the shadows, the details, they're just gone. But I wish, you know, the Xiaomi did something about the color accuracy. You know, there are some big updates coming for the software. We have to do it probably another camera comparison.
Hey, why not, man? Let's run it back.
Let us know if you would like to see that, guys, because honestly, I think the Xiaomi can do way better in terms of the optimization.
Agreed. Okay, so extended zoom. Again, this is the flexibility. At the 3.2x, the Xiaomi does allow you to do 50 megapixels. With the Galaxy S24 Ultra, we've gone straight to 50 megapixels in terms of the JPEG. And then of course, the 3x 12 megapixels is a digital one that we used previously from the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I have to say Xiaomi all the way, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
It's Xiaomi all the way. It just, the detail at 3.2x 50 megapixels is great. We can question the color accuracy, yes, just because of the fact that our skin is just more red than it should. I hope they really tune this in properly. And we talked about this, man. We are using the default Leica Vibrant. That's the default. If you reset it, it's there. And there's different modes, but again, it's no different to other camera systems. With the iPhone, you've got different photographic styles if you go into the settings. And just remember, with the Samsung, this year, they've decided to make sure that the scene optimizer is off by default. So many variables can change. By default though, we would love better skin toning when it comes to us, but for the detail, I'm going with Xiaomi.
I'm going to agree on that. I like the look of it. yes, you know, look at the color of your face. It's just way off.
Yeah, it's
but
way off.
by the look at the other iPhone and Samsung, like there's not much details. Like, like Samsung. We are both blurry. Look at the face.
Yeah,
on Samsung.
It's. I know people are gonna question it, but we had someone else extra. My intern Matthew was there. He was helping us take the pictures. We didn't need to worry about doing timers. He was pressing to focus. And again, when you're in the situation where you're doing everything to help the camera get the shot and it can't, there's not much more you can do, right? So take that into consideration. Xiaomi's done really well. Let's just hope that they sort out the colors tuning very soon.
Yes, please.
Okay, the final extended zoom range, 5x on all of them. And obviously with the 5x, you've got 50 megapixels on the Galaxy S24 Ultra like we showed before. Xiaomi 14 Ultra is 50 megapixels, and then 5x is 12 megapixels on the iPhone. My wish is all of them to have high resolutions in the future, especially Samsung. They're almost there. They just need to make the 3x and the ultra wide 50 megapixels and keep it moving. Again, I think the story is the same. Xiaomi for me in terms of the detail, and I think the color processing is improved slightly, right? Still not perfect. There's still a bit more of a redness and a saturation to our skin that shouldn't really be there, but it's improved. I'm still giving it to Xiaomi based on the detail.
I'm going to agree on that. Xiaomi, iPhone, sadly Samsung is just struggling here.
Yeah, struggling.
Again, the situation will change, like you mentioned. If the weather condition was different and there was more lighting in those, then, well, again, guys, you know, give us a shout, maybe. You know, I mean, we live in the UK. You can't predict the weather.
Predict it.
June, July, you name it, it's rain.
It's rain, yep. Okay, front-facing cameras, people. Let's take some selfies. We're gonna do it without portrait mode and portrait mode after, different characteristics. And I have to say, I personally prefer the natural detail of what we're getting from the iPhone. For me, it's gonna be iPhone, then it's gonna be Samsung, and then it's going to be the Xiaomi. Now, it's not that the Samsung look bad, but you can tell that there's some artificial sharpening happening for sure. Whereas the iPhone just has that natural, right? So it's more because of that. Again, some people might prefer it, but I'm definitely going iPhone, Samsung, and then Xiaomi. Anything different for you?
You know what? Even though, like you said, but I prefer that look, even though it's over sharpening slightly, the details. Look at when I look at my eyes, like there's so much. I don't know. I just prefer the details. I mean, sadly, Xiaomi here is just really struggling. And I don't blame you. It's an acquired look in a way, right? So, hey guys, do you prefer the stylistic look of the Samsung or the more natural look of the iPhone 15 Pro Max? Let us know in the comment section below. Portrait mode. Now, I'm going to address one thing that annoys me about portrait mode on the iPhone. When you go into the actual portrait mode setting, it crops in, you lose field of view, the resolution of the image becomes slightly lower. The blur is okay, but honestly, if you take a normal picture and go into the edit, you can change it into a portrait image, right? So I don't know why it crops in. I hope Apple fixes this. It's a tough one, but in my opinion, I think I like the Samsung overall between how it's handling both of us. And then the iPhone is not bad, but if you look at the iPhone around your hat, it really struggled, man. That's what I was going to say. Like, and even though by your beard, your face, it is struggling with that edge detection. You know, we still got, you know, Samsung just slightly over sharpening, but it was raining. Look at the
details that you're getting around your hat.
My hat. These are actually raindrops on my hat. We can actually see it, and this isn't visible on Xiaomi.
Xiaomi's
slightly details there on iPhone, but again, because of that edge detection, it's just not accurate.
You're right. You are absolutely right. Okay, we've got some indoor macro shots of our Funko Pop of Calcastus and his trusty droid BD1 from the Jedi Survivor game series. And this is an interesting one because we're going through a different series where we're seeing what is the minimum focus on a main camera sensor, and then how close do you get and the look you get when you switch into macro mode. Okay, this is the main camera sensor on all of them and how close they allow you to get before they blur, iPhone is absolutely bad. It's just not good.
I could not believe it. Like it was so poor comparing with these two.
It's just not good. It's just not good. The Xiaomi and the Samsung pretty much on par.
Yeah.
Very good look. That means if you want to get that natural blur from those big main sensors, the 1-inch type sensor and also the 200 megapixel sensor, you can before going into macro mode. Really good look there from the Xiaomi and the Samsung.
That's the way to go. But honestly, first place, Samsung, Xiaomi, iPhone. Sorry, not this time.
Not this time. Now, as we showcase, when you go past that minimum focus and distance on a main camera sensor, this is when you need macro mode, and these are all different. With the Xiaomi, it is using what they call their super macro mode, and it's using the correct focal length, which is what the telephoto. Give us the breakdown. What's your thoughts, man?
But that's what you need, to be honest. I'm a huge macro photography fan, and I always use, if there is no macro available, I always go ×5. You go for close to 100 millimeters as possible. This is the proper focal length for macro, and you can clearly see that on the Xiaomi. It's absolutely beautiful. This is like a
Chef's
DSLR level photography.
Chef's kiss. This is the most nicest stylistic look to macro. Now look, if we're gonna go into details, macro mode on the iPhone 15 is impressive how close it allows
details
you.
on that. I could not believe it, how close you can actually get to the subject. Like, wow.
You couldn't actually get closer. It was so close, you would have hit it.
Yeah.
You know, the Samsung is an okay in between, because the minimum focusing on the main camera sensor is so good that the macro is decent, it does the job. The Xiaomi though, the stylistic look is just, I'm in love with this. It's so good.
You see, that's why we're doing those comparisons. If we didn't have Xiaomi and iPhone, we were thinking like Samsung did a really good job. As soon as you compare it to that, it's just different level.
Oh, good stuff, man. Really love this. Okay, people, no more pictures of us. We are going to be taking the last set of landscape images. This is more just to test the extended zoom range and just the color consistency when we're looking at landscape images across the board. And in this particular situation, starting with the ultra wide and their normal bin modes, I'm going with the Galaxy S24 Ultra first. Then I'm going with the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Xiaomi. Now, quick disclaimer, I still feel like the Xiaomi is really focusing on the sky exposure and it's affecting the whole image because it's a lot more accurate to the sky in my opinion. But in the order of how things are, I'm going Samsung, Apple, and then Xiaomi. What's your thoughts?
To be honest, I'm going to give a Samsung and iPhone. I cannot see any difference here, to be honest. They're both looking pretty good in my opinion.
Very, very.
I'm not going to argue Xiaomi.
It's just more, it's the exposure, the sky. But yeah, I'm with you. It's definitely a Samsung and Apple show in this one. Okay, let's switch to the main wide sensor, still binning in their mode. Remember, during the day, the Samsung bins to 12 megapixels, same as the Xiaomi, but the iPhone, when there's enough daylight during the day, it's actually binning to 24 megapixels and 12 megapixels at night. And yeah, I think, you know, like we said, in terms of the detail follow through throughout, you know, the Samsung and the iPhone do a great job. Detail has clawed back on the Xiaomi, which is great to see. Again, the exposure, I would personally go with the Samsung and the iPhone, probably more on the iPhone and then the Samsung, then the Xiaomi. I'm
the other way around actually. When you look at the details on the trees on the Samsung, those branches are more sharper. I can see details. Yeah, that's a good visual. On the iPhone, I wasn't thinking about that. It's actually a bit blurry. Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. Nice, so I'm going to give it that, and then sadly Xiaomi. Fair enough. Last. Yeah. Good shout, I love that. Right, let's start getting into the zoom ranges. The first stop gap is the 2x. And again, we're gonna be looking at the processing that we're seeing. And I feel like the colors, how they look on the Samsung are great. And I think the follow through in terms of the detail around the grass is actually done really well. What I'm seeing is if you look at the yellow gates, right, there's a bit of shimmering in terms of what you call it, the color fringing and shifting there. Whereas the colors are a lot more stable on the iPhone in terms of the gate and the Xiaomi. But of course, the Xiaomi, it's the overall exposure that's a bit darker that I don't like. So I'm gonna go with the iPhone, then the Samsung, even though I prefer the natural look of the colors of the Samsung than the Xiaomi. You see, again, I'm looking at the details. Look at the trees on the iPhone. Yeah. Again, Samsung, I'm not sure if this is artificial, is it natural? But to be honest, I like the look of it. Yeah, but you make a good point about the Samsung in terms of the look and the processing. So fairly, if you pick that,
there's nothing wrong with that too. Next is the mid-range extended zoom. We're now at 3.2x with the Xiaomi 3x on the Samsung, and of course we're still doing a digital crop on the main sensor for the iPhone before we get to 5x. I would say the iPhone is out of this game. It's way too soft. I like the detail on the Xiaomi. I just wish the exposure was better in my opinion, but the detail's really good. Because if I'm just looking at the clarity of the text on the fence, it looks more defined than what we're seeing on the Samsung, in my opinion. So, you know, I want more exposure, but actually the detail and the natural look is there.
I prefer, exactly, as soon as I saw that picture, your eyes just
Yeah,
going straight to that.
Way more
It's
defined.
a nice look. Even the colors are slightly off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, iPhone here for sure, it just was struggling.
Yeah.
But to be honest, you'd probably be okay with both.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
would.
have any complaints here about
Yeah.
Samsung. It's a nice picture.
It's a nice picture, but I'm going with Xiaomi for the detail.
Same.
So we've now gone into 5x. Optically, the iPhone is back in the game because it's on 5x. 5x on the Xiaomi, 5x on the Samsung. And again, if I'm looking at just the definition of the look, although I like the colors on the Samsung, I still prefer the look of the detail on the Xiaomi. I wish the saturation was a bit more toned down and come back. But again, you know, I just feel like the detail of the text is a bit more defined than what you're seeing on the Samsung. What do you say?
I have to say, I like both.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pick. It's you know, it's personal preferences, and to be honest, I just cannot pick one. I like both, even though they're slightly different colors. The grass is different. You know, just don't like iPhone here because there's not much details.
It's not much. You can't make much out of it.
Yeah,
you can't make much out of it. It's struggling. Okay, help Darius split between the decision. He wants to pick both. Which one should he pick? The Samsung or the Xiaomi when it comes to 5x? Okay, now let's really stretch their legs. 10x zoom. This is now pushing on their 5x sensors. And again, instantly I look at this, the definition of the detail on the Xiaomi really stands out well. Again, colors are much more natural on the Samsung and more accurate to the day, I personally believe. I'm still going with Xiaomi because if I'm looking at the text on that gate, it looks more defined compared to, I can actually read the footwear for 3G football pitch. I can't really read it on the Samsung. And in fact, on the iPhone, I can read it better than the Samsung. So I'm gonna go Xiaomi, iPhone, and then Samsung in this situation.
Interesting, because we were looking at completely different things. You know what my eyes were looking straight away? It's the grass.
Okay.
Now, when you look at Xiaomi, it's just a very artificial, like there's so much image processing going on there. Like, I don't like that. But as soon as I move my head up and look at the details of that picture, and it's so sharp, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the grass. I'm gonna go with iPhone here because Samsung is just blurry there.
It's blurry. It's blurry.
So yeah, that's just me.
Interesting. Now we're really stretching the legs, people. I feel like, in my personal opinion, going anything beyond 30x is pointless. But again, we're gonna do it and showcase it. iPhone only goes up to 25x, so just bear that in mind. And again, I think it's level pegging where the definition of what you're seeing in the text is very much the same on the Xiaomi and the Samsung. In some ways, I feel like the Samsung in this situation is doing a little bit better. So I'm gonna take the Samsung in this particular situation, then the Xiaomi, and unfortunately the iPhone just does not exist in this particular competition at this range.
I know, I mean, Samsung's always struggling with the telephoto lenses and the focal length. They're slightly behind. And to be honest, I like both. It's really hard for me to pick which one's actually better. I like the colors better on Samsung, the definition on Xiaomi. To be honest, times 30, who gonna use this?
Yeah, that's your maximum. Now, although we say that's your maximum, there is a 100x mode on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and a 120x mode on the Xiaomi. Again, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is limited to 25x. I would say that the Samsung is doing better, but honestly, at this point, it doesn't really matter. I don't think so, but what do you think?
I'm with you, exactly the same. Samsung slightly better, then we got Xiaomi.
But
Bye-bye, Sam. I have to say, I'm gonna agree with you. Samsung number 1, Xiaomi number 2. Goodbye, iPhone.
That's it. Okay, for the high resolution modes and landscape, as we've shown you with us in the picture, again, the Xiaomi is going to give you the most flexibility, ultra wide 1x, 3.2x, and 5x. The Galaxy S24 Ultra, you've got 2 modes at 50 and 200 megapixels on a wide, and then 5x, which is 50 megapixels, but again, not on the ultra wide and the 3x. The iPhone does it on the 48 megapixel on the main. Again, we're just gonna get you to look at this yourselves. and we've advised that it's not just about daylight. Use this mode when the sun is out to really help the fact that it's not pixel binning. It's going to take a hit to dynamic range, and the pixels are going to be effectively smaller compared to when it bins. But again, the options are there. We've kind of gone through it in terms of the consistency. The Xiaomi, in terms of the exposure on the ultra wide, is a bit lower, so it needs more sun, no doubt. When we go to 50 megapixels, I feel like the Samsung, not bad. The iPhone actually does really well. I think the iPhone does actually really well. What do you think?
I would say that, iPhone's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, and again, we praise Xiaomi for having the flexibility of going to the 3.2x, having 50 megapixels, and then of course, 50 megapixels when you get to the 5x for the Xiaomi and the Samsung, still 12 megapixels. Again, it's just more of a quick analysis so we can wrap this one up. This is the options you've got for the landscape and high resolution mode across all of them.
I like the look of Xiaomi here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
But again, I don't think there's a clear winner here. That's down to the personal preference.
Personal preference. I just hope in the future, Samsung especially, goes all high resolution, no more 12, no more 10 megapixel sensors. Really helps with their feature set to allow this mode and flexibility. And also, like we mentioned, you know, being able to shoot 8K on all the camera sensors would be great, just like what we have on the Xiaomi. So just something to consider. But here are your options, people.
Which one is your favorite, guys? Please let us know in the comments below.
Okay, we've gone through the pictures. Let's give our final thoughts and analysis on the video. Let's start with the Selfie. And I have to say this, right? It's great all of them record 4K 60. This is a great improvement for the Xiaomi compared to the previous generation that was doing 1080p only. But I would say it's still not up to par in terms of the colors, the exposure, the focus when both of us are in there. And also it is missing video portrait mode on a Selfie camera. The others have it and they allow you to do this in 4K. So in my opinion, I prefer the Samsung because the microphone and the audio is better than the iPhone. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the video for the Selfie camera. What's your thoughts?
I'm gonna absolutely agree on that. There's not much argument, honestly.
Yeah. So hopefully software updates will really improve these things on Xiaomi. Software updates will also probably help the Samsung have less over sharpening. But overall, I just prefer the Samsung when it comes to selfie video.
Yeah.
Okay, for the rear cameras, if we're looking at things here, I would say that in terms of the natural look and consistency, iPhone is actually good, right? In my opinion. I feel like the Xiaomi over sharpens things. You have to consider the Xiaomi also, yes, it does have video portrait mode, but it is limited to 1080p. Video portrait mode on the other cameras are in 4K, much better quality and consistency. The Galaxy S24 Ultra, I think it's a great balance, right? Where you do have 8K video on the main sensor and the 5X. I have to give props to Xiaomi for being able to do 8K video recording
across all the lenses.
It is impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
So we do have to give it that. What's your thoughts on the video?
I mean, look at the quality. I don't know, is it the public toilet behind us?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, just around there.
I can see all the signs perfectly fine. I cannot read it
but you can
on
see the
Samsung,
definition, yeah.
But you see iPhone struggling. It's focusing not on us, but we still slightly, out of focus there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I quite like the Xiaomi. However, for me, Samsung is just the winner here.
I think Samsung strikes a good balance. Sometimes it can be an artistic look of a natural blur, but it's a give and take. I just feel like where things are, Samsung has a good package. There are some specialist modes that we have to consider on all of them in terms of the ProRes mode on the iPhone with log and HDR. You've got the log on the Xiaomi.
Yes.
You've got 8K on all the cameras on the Xiaomi. You've got 8K on the 2 cameras on here. We've got 4K 120 frames a second slow motion on the Xiaomi and the Samsung, where it's limited to 1080p. There's so much different benefits across all of them. I think they're robust enough as it is. It's really just down to what you value and what you use. But yeah, that's our final thoughts on the video analysis for all these 3 flagship cameras.
It's always about the preferences. Some people don't even look at those options. 4K, 120 frames per second? Come on.
Absolutely. So that is it with our definitive camera comparison between the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. A massive thank you, Darius, man. Thank you for coming through
My
with
pleasure.
the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Wouldn't able to do it without you. So guys, please do go and follow and subscribe to Darius. He's got his camera comparison where I'm in it as well with some of the mid-range phones that are really popular and want to see. And yeah, if you liked what we did, definitely go subscribe to both of us. Make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. There will be more collaborations like this. And without wasting much time, we're going to get out of here. Much love and peace. Thank you very much. Catch you in the next one. Easy.
Cheers.
Now, before I sign out, I know the pitchforks are going to be coming out about where are the low light images and videos for this camera comparison. Now, I'm going to show you some B-roll now to show you the torrential downpour of rain and absolute bad weather we've had over the week here in the UK. And look, Darius came down with his Xiaomi 14 Ultra and he couldn't stay forever. And as again, time is very limited on our side. So we barely had enough time during the day, even as early as the afternoon, to get the daytime shots before it started to rain. And from then, it's been downpour and nothing less. So for my existing viewers of my definitive camera comparisons, please make this as an exception to not having any nighttime imageries for photos and videos. And for any new viewers, again, if you watch our previous camera comparisons, there's a lot of detailed nighttime shots. So let's just make an exception here. Be patient with us, and we hope you enjoy this video. All right, we'll catch you. Easy. Peace.
Thank you.